What I am about to outline is deeply concerning, but it must be addressed before it takes full control of any more people. Just like everything else, social media and the mainstream media do not spread the truth. Instead, they spread whatever and whoever is the loudest. If you scream loud enough on TikTok, you will garner millions of followers, even if you are entirely wrong, especially in the fast-paced society like we live in today. Falsehoods spread faster than the truth, not giving any time for facts to spread before anyone can even explain what's going on. The people who believe the media are gathering in the streets, demanding repercussions for what supposedly happened. Sadly, today, many people have been indoctrinated beyond saving, but that will not stop me from at least trying, and that shouldn't stop you either. We are now entering the year 1933, the year Hitler was appointed. I'm not exaggerating. What we are seeing now is what Hitler himself could only dream of. It is likely a fever dream only dreamt of by evil people like himself. Luckily, he never got that far, but today, we might. The people at the forefront of this either don't realize it yet or are too mad about the information they are fed straight from the mainstream media. This information being spread from the media is always wrong, but during wartime, it's worse, especially when we trust information from a country with all the incentives in the world to inflate the numbers. Of course, this is the same media that ran into this mishap years ago.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
People should already know that if you are on the same side as the media, you are wrong. It's true time and time again. The media's tactic in this game disregards basic human life and dignity. This is merely to help out a terrorist regime that calls itself Hamas. You heard that right. A terrorist, by definition, is a person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians. This is what Hamas did on October 7th. And to prove it, they recorded themselves and added it to a 45-minute snuff film and then released it. Hamas is not sorry for what happened and never will be. But how about the leader of Palestine?
The atrocities you must acknowledge that were done by your militia. Do you condemn those atrocities?
It's not fair. It's not fair to ask this question for someone who has been killed by the Israelis.
No. He will not condemn the atrocities. This is because he agrees with them. As I have said before, the more the mainstream media talks about something, the more people think that they know the whole story. The more people think that they know the whole entire story, the more people wait in the background for their chance to start protesting. Of course, most of these people were still waiting for their opportunity to begin protesting since 2020. So they had all of these people on standby anyway. If you take a look at these many protesters that came out across the world, you hear chanting and screaming.
From the river to the sea, from the river to the sea, but Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free.
Never mind them being open for discussion. If you come up with an opposite opinion, they will beat you and rip up your sign. If you are just Jewish and go to the same school as these pro-Hamas sympathizers, not allowed. That would be a big mistake. As a Jewish person, you are not allowed to do anything anymore, which brings us back to Nazism. But that would never happen in today's world, right?
A group of Nazi sympathizers was recorded dining inside a Fort Worth restaurant this weekend. And for the people who witnessed that, they aren't just concerned about the messaging, but also the timing following the attack on Israel by Hamas militants.
Wrong. What the media wants us to believe is that Israel's support among the West is dwindling, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. It's only valid on social media because of misinformation. Like I said before, misinformation gets shared faster than the truth ever has time to even breathe. Even if you ask these protesters that chant,
From the river to the sea, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free.
what river are you talking about? They won't tell you. This is from two main reasons. they either don't know geography, so they couldn't tell you what river and what sea they are even talking about, and number two, if they did understand what sea and what river, they would just circle Israel. This would just outline their master plan to expel Israel and kill millions of Jews. So they would just rather not say it altogether, and they wouldn't want to reveal their secrets, right? At least not yet. But some people don't mind sharing their not so secret agenda, especially Hamas, which has all the incentive in the world because the mainstream media just turns their heads whenever they open their mouth. Palestine has the money to pay off the media companies and social media sites, regardless of their incentives. I don't have any incentive not to tell you the truth. I don't even get paid. So let me answer the question. What river? The Jordan River, of course. It runs from the lower part of Israel to the West Bank. What sea are they talking about? The Mediterranean Sea, which would mean that Israel would have to be exiled, which would mean that millions of Jews would have to die, which would result in the total eradication of a whole country that is the homeland of where Jewish people came from and are still living now. This is the end goal so many people want when asked. Yes, it's true. If you go too far to the right, you end up on the far left. If you go too far to the left, you end up on the right. Now, if you look at what is now called neo-Nazi or skinheads and ask them what they want to do with the Jewish people in Israel, they would say that they want them out of Israel. The same can be said about the pro-Hamas sympathizers, mainly on the extreme left, like AOC or Rashida Tlaib, or the protesters at the White House. Oh yeah, did I mention the event that happened over the weekend? The big party the protesters gathered where they were trying to get over the fence? I didn't, so let's get into it. According to the Daily Wire, pro-Palestinian protesters swarmed the White House gates on Saturday evening, demanding a ceasefire in Gaza, while chastising President Joe Biden for siding with Israel in its war against Hamas. End quote. You would be wrong if you were to say not that many people went. Well, continuing with the article, hundreds if not thousands of people, many of whom carried signs of Palestinian flags, assembled outside the northern fence. They chanted anti-Biden slogans such as Genocide Joe and F Joe Biden. The mainstream media would never cover this, and even if they did, they would make up excuses for what happened. They care so much about our sacred democracy, as they've shown us over the last couple of years, they would rather discuss the Trump case or the Ron DeSantis' shoe scandal. When we learn that whoever the referendum is on, they lose the election. That's precisely why the media has every incentive in the world to make sure that we don't pay attention to anything Joe Biden is messing up and instead focus on the Trump cases. They do not want us to focus on the terrible mishaps that the Joe Biden administration is responsible for, like the Afghanistan withdrawal and now the Middle East collapse.